Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
PremierBilliards.com. Exceptional cues, cases, and accessories from top-tier brands. Want it? Need it? Find it. PremierBilliards.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Dogging It. I'm Molina Mike, and thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us and coming on in and talking World Championship. It's been a fun few days, sweating the action. It's kind of sad that it's going to be coming to an end here in another, I think, 2 more days now. So, but I got my man Ray that I'm going to be bringing on in. We're going to be cutting up the round of 32, 64, and then more importantly, previewing tomorrow's matches, which I'm just super pumped about. So let me know in the chat who you guys got winning it all. 16 players remain. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun day of sweating some pool tomorrow. Let me bring in Ray here. Raymond, my man, how are you, buddy?
Doing good, man. Been following along, watching some of the action going on. Lots of intense matches going on today. I feel like today was I heard Carl describe the tournament as having like 3 phases, right? This is kind of like phase 2, where phase 1 is like the double elimination. You get to the 64, and then it's down to the 16 where you get to those 3 tables. And then it's
now you can make some money. I was looking. I think from right now where they're sitting at to if they win a round, they're basically playing for 12 grand tomorrow to start off the day. So it's a $12,000 leap in pay scale. So which it's only going to get better from there for all these guys, but especially with with it becoming more real, the fact that hey, the big one at the end is in reach, so. I'm excited for it also, man. What were some, like, off the top of your head? You sweat a lot of matches, 3 different channels, the Zone, 2 YouTube channels. What was a player or maybe a match that kind of stuck out to you over the last 2 days that might have been a turning point?
It's kind of been a theme for me. I've noticed like certain players having kind of like not easy, like easy roads to this point, but not really sweat so much.
Yeah.
Like I think about Shane, where it just kind of like it feels like he's there looming and working and just kind of getting through his business, and it doesn't feel like he's really been pushed too hard yet. But then you look at a guy like Federer, who's like survived like 3 matches that are all like 11-9 double hill. The last match even of the round with Meling and Elliott looked so good that match, and his cue ball was really tight, and he looked like he was super composed and had one, I think, scratch. He was up 10-8 on the hill, and Meling was in his chair, and Meling wins the set from there. And it was one of those things you're like, man, like that's a huge spot to kind of come back from, because
what was the score at that point, Ray? You said
it was 10-8. He was in the chair down 10-8 with Elliott on the hill, and Chris turned it around and broke and ran. I think the last rack in a just a really, really strong fashion. He was quick, like shooting the 9. He shot the 9 and it wobbled. It wiped its feet going in. But besides that, just really quality match from those 2 guys. So there's a lot of like quality.
I like the 11-8 not being an automatic for the guy ahead, or the 10-8, not being automatic for the guy ahead. And I've seen quite a bit these, like, I'd say from like a 4-game gap, 5-game gap isn't too much to overcome, because I think like once you're within that like 3 range, okay, now you got the fire on them, you know what I mean? And so now the guy who's ahead is uncomfortable, and especially like it being at the tail end, not just in the match but in the tournament and all these things. And for me, look, I watch a lot of sports. I've watched a lot of pool over the years, and I've seen it time and time again where if guys win matches they're not supposed to win, then what ends up happening is they go on to snap off the whole event. And that's happened a few times with Federer. And Federer was probably the betting favorite going into it, at a minimum a top three. Now all these guys he's had hill matches or 10-8 matches, 11-8, whatever the case was, like 9-8, whatever. Like most of these opponents he was supposed to beat, with relative ease. You know what I mean? Like all due respect to these guys. Chang Yulung's a monster, but the end he's supposed to beat, with pretty convincingly. So like to be in these types of matches, I don't know if it's a testament to maybe where his game is at right now, or if it's like, okay, hey, listen, this may be his time again because he's already won the World Nine Ball Championship before, whenever it was in Qatar, and I think he beats Chang Jun Lin in that final a few years back. So, um, but could it be Federer's time? Look, we know what his ceiling is and his consistency level is. You know what I mean? Like it's A1 talent.
Yeah, I kind of view it like if you're grinding through tournaments where you're putting in a lot of effort to kind of get through the matches, you're kind of building up an escrow account of your gear is coming. You know what I mean? Like you're doing all the dirty work to get to put yourself in position to have a really great set. And he hasn't had that like super strong set yet, but we know it's there. And it's just a matter of whether or not he just kind of
Yes.
settles, and maybe it's just, he sleeps on it and like comes out tomorrow and puts together a really special round of 16, round of 8, or
He's gonna need it.
you know Sunday. Yeah, I mean you're going to need it at this point. This is where the stuff really starts getting intense.
Well,
So
he's supposed to beat Chris playing this game. I love Chris, um, incredible talent. I haven't seen his break. I didn't get to watch the Elliott match. Obviously, he's got to be in form if he's staying within it. And I heard him do a little like post game interview where he was talking about things and how his game was at and just how hungry he is. And I know um, I've seen him play enough nine ball to know where his ceiling is, but I can't compare it to Federer's right now. And so I would think Federer's going to cruise here, but then again, I thought the last 3 rounds Federer's going to cruise here. So it's like you never know, right? I can't have any rhyme or reason to it at all.
yeah, at this point you really can't take anything for granted. You know what I mean? There's too much on the table there for guys to earn that, you're going to get hungry people. You're not just going to get people there that are just,
Well,
you
but
know,
this is where like him being in the grease, him staying playing in on Sundays and Saturdays, like in days that it matters. I
Mhm.
think this is where all that experience is just going to be able to serve him very well because there's a lot of guys and a lot of Europeans with a lot of talent. I'll say that because Filipinos, Asian players, I feel like they gamble enough to where like they can maintain pressure pretty well. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
like the other European players, I don't think any of them got that level of like drive and grind like Federer does. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I feel like when the heat gets ratcheted up, like funky things can happen in a match in sport and all these things, right? And then you just fade it and you deal with it. But like when it comes to when you got to deliver, because there's certain guys where once it gets close to finishing, they stumble a little bit. We saw that with Max in his match, a couple of days ago. We saw with a couple of other guys where they couldn't David earlier, with Jason. He lets Jason back in a
Yeah.
couple of times. You know what I mean? So it's like these guys where, listen, they've done a lot in the sport, Ray, right? But like you're talking some serious tiers that you're going to be moving up, and especially as you get into the 8, 4, and then on to the finals type range. I mean, you're really looking at some decent money here.
Yeah. It's hard to like win that first one. You know what I mean? Get through that kind of like threshold the first time. But once you do, you kind of normalize it and it's not as scary. And then it becomes a little bit easier the next time. And then, Federer's on the other side of that. He's done that quite a few times. And now, you see him just run deep in a lot of these events over and over again. So we kind of expect it.
Right.
Um, so, the fact that it's
Well,
been kind
we
of,
expected it before he ever did a damn thing on a matchroom stage, now he's coming off of a World Pool Masters victory, but he said it himself a couple days ago where he's not in love with these tables. Let's just be real. I don't think a lot of guys are, and I heard this in particular last year leaving Sharks in the Philippines because I think they have a room full of Mr. Sungs out there. And I remember hearing from players out there, man, these play really soft. I'm not a fan, and I'm paraphrasing here obviously, but like there was a lot of guys that were echoing these same things where they just weren't thrilled with these conditions. Now, coming into this event, when I realized what it was, that was something that I took into account. And Federer mentioned as much when it comes to like his consistency level out here. But like, he's gonna figure it out. The dude could be a chameleon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he should, and I mean, he's showing that he can still grind. I think as he gets more table time, and he's only going to get better. So there are a couple guys that made the final 16 that we talked about early on as kind of like these guys to look out for. Mickey Krause and Jeff Ignacio both are into the final 16. I know we
Look
talked.
out for Jeff. Look out for Jeff Ray.
Yeah,
That dude figures out a way to play at the end of tournaments consistently.
yeah, he's super dangerous threat, and the fact that he's winning these matches and getting deeper into the tournament means he's getting more comfortable. That's tough news for a lot of people. And Mickey had some good wins too
You
in that
know,
round of
it's
32.
I
Right?
mean, Mickey takes down FSR, reigning world champion. Heartbreaking
Huge.
post from Fran saying, "Hey, I'm losing my world number one status." You know what I mean? So you can tell that level of importance there. But Mickey, to his credit, he's for me, and I like Mickey a lot personally. The little bit of time that I've spent with him and talked with him a little bit, really nice guy, super solid. But I've never really given his game like the level of respect when it comes to whether it's on a gambling side or on a tournament grind type side. You know what I mean? And so to come out with wins like this in this spot just shows like where he's clicking at right now. And so he seems to have a ton of confidence right now. Hey, yeah, yeah, you do whatever you want to do. It's your house. And so, yeah, big wins for him. Follow that up with the win over Billy. And now, I mean, you got to think you come off a win, especially after beating Fran, right? Like
Yeah,
you beat Fran, that's the one where it's like, all right, like I can do this, right?
yeah, and it's one of those things like he's a young player, right? And so there's a lot of like polish that has to happen. And you only get that by competing at this level over and over again. And to his credit, he's been staying in it. You know what I mean? Really competing and traveling and putting in the work. So it makes sense that you keep pushing, you keep pushing. These little moments are going to keep happening, and you have a set that you just feel comfortable. And you play somebody like an FSR or a filler or one of the top players, and you know you just hold it together. And he looks real steady right now. Doesn't look too emotional, which I think is going to be a big value add now. You know what I mean? I think the guys that are going to struggle or have struggled are the ones that are the ones that prone to emotion. Like I know there was a double hill match. What was it? Ignacio and Jonas. That was like a tense, like very emotional moment. And Jonas is a very like emotional player. He really took it hard after the match. It shows you what it means to them, obviously. So that's good. But
Well, that's where like it becomes more heartbreaking, like right, like you lose like in a fashion like Oscar, it's one thing, right? Where like you get, you weren't really in it from the beginning. You kind of get your, you kind of get a beat down from the jump. But then on the other side, you got a match like Jonas. I think it was what's his name from the Netherlands, man. Uh, not not Bistro Bosch. I'm thinking about Tucher, Marco Tucher, right? He
yeah,
he comes off of a heartbreaking Hill loss and what it meant to him, and I think it's like a combination of man where I think my game is at versus what I could have done,
yeah, that
and
was
there's a lot of
Torture and Bader, right? Torture and Bader.
yeah, and
They
there's a lot of listen, we we can talk about the immediate and what you're going to get as far as what's going to clear the bank in a few days, Ray, but you're also going to get a lot more along with that, right? You're basically going to get you're going to get a spot locked up in the Elias Cup and the Europe or Australian Cup, whatever it is, right? On top of that, you're going to get an invite to the World Pool Masters, right? So like this is going to set you up for the next 12 months pretty well. On top of the fact that you're going to get a lot of sponsors probably going to be knocking on the door because you're going to be showcasing for the next 12 months, everywhere and anywhere. There's a lot of things that are at stake for these players, and especially where, like, if you think about a guy like a Shane, for example, right, who's like in the twilight of his career, versus a kid like Mickey, right, where like, hey man, this could be it. You know what I mean? Like a good run here, it could really set me up for a little while now.
Yeah, and I mean the payout is so significant that if you get there to the final four, like you're on the team basically. You know what I mean? So those
Pretty much.
implied odds are going to get cashed in. So, these guys know that these next two rounds are super significant, and they're going to do everything they can to bring it in. So,
Well, he's going to have his hands full because the defending Spanish Open champion in Dang, he's kind of going on a run where it reminds me of what I saw leading into single elimination at that event, Ray, where like early on in the event, it was like, man, like he's just a little off, but he's got a good foundation of his poise, his experience, and then along with that, a break. And the break was something that, a year ago where I was like, man, this dude's game could really be something special, and so but it's they're kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum for me type players. But man, I'm rooting for Mickey. I just don't know if he can beat a guy like Dang, because Dang's a terror out there.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, super dangerous player, obviously super experienced, been to the deep stage. So this will be a huge match for Mickey. Like if Mickey can show up and put it on him early, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, take control early, then he'll be in a good position to kind of settle. As soon as he can settle, then you get the honest look at what his game's going to be. You know what I mean? So this is kind of new territory for Mickey, kind of like what we saw last month with Capito at the UK Open, right? This is where you
I
start.
was just gonna say that, right? Because you mentioned the mental, like him being just real steady when it comes to the mental side of it, and like we just saw that, right? We just saw a guy with with those same tools, snap off an event in the last few weeks, man.
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see, and yeah, I mean, Mickey gets a chance to kind of write his own destiny here. So uh, you know,
Oh,
j-
that's all you want, right? That's all you want.
yeah,
Look,
this is it.
I saw him gamble Oscar. I seen him a little bit over the last few months. Like, man, if he can get it figured out, good luck to him, because I'll be rooting for him for sure. But I think, I don't know, man. If I'm picking, which is part of what I wanted to do tonight, was pick who we thought, so we can look like fools tomorrow. I'm probably picking Dang. Um, it's just harder to bet against that guy. Overall, on match number two, the last year's runner up goes further than last year's winner, Mohamed Sufi, coming off of a Euro Tour win, faces Johan Chua. This is a really interesting matchup for me, Ray. I really don't know what direction to go here.
Yeah, it's a firepower thing. I think both guys have like really exceptional firepower. Chua has been up and down this tournament. I mean, he's trending up obviously because he's still here,
Right,
right?
right.
But he had a really sketchy start, and it feels like he's settled in and locked in, and he's so talented. And Sufi's super talented, and it seems like he just really loves playing pool at the World Handball Championships because he just comes in and does great. So it's going to be an entertaining match for sure. It'll be interesting to watch. I haven't seen too many of Sufi's actual like deeper like a full match today, so I'll have to like pay attention tomorrow and see what he's up to and see how he's looking.
Well, he's got experience, right? We just saw that, but we really haven't seen him since then. I mentioned Euro Tour, and obviously we know the depth of those fields out there, although the pay isn't that great. But Johan is, I think you hit the nail on the head when it comes to how that tournament's gone for him. I can't bet against the Filipino here. I just can't. It's just not in me. And so I've just seen Johan, like in big spots, do really big things.
Yeah,
And so and on top of that, listen, you ain't gonna find me a group of guys with more heart than the Filipinos.
yeah.
So
And,
um,
and Chua had such a great coming out at the doubles last year, right? The World Cup, like everybody kind of knows in his prime for him to have that
he
kind
was
of.
the anchor, Ray. He was the
Yeah.
anchor.
No, he was the dog. He was the dog in that.
Yeah.
He was the lead dog in that team, and so everybody's kind of like almost primed for him to have one of those big performances in a singles event. And so we have three. What is it? Three Filipinos left in final 16.
Yeah.
It's dangerous, man. Those guys know what to do. So yeah,
Well, extremely, and these three guys would be on a list of players you would consider for a Reyes Cup prior to this event, right? And so now you have an opportunity
yeah, big time.
um, to solidify a spot on that team, with a pretty good run. Down below you got his buddy Jeff playing
And
David.
and not for nothing, first place money buys a lot of lumpia in Manila. So
Yeah, for
you can
sure.
feed a lot of people with that. Anyhow,
Last four room. David and Jeff, man, look, I've been following a lot of Jeff. I've been a fan of his for at least 10 plus years, man. And I've seen him, I've seen him do really well all over the world, and then I haven't seen him in a long time. And then I want to say, like, within the last like 9 months, the dude just pops into an event, right? And then he's playing in a final, he's winning an event.
Yeah.
I think I forgot where it was, but somewhere international with like a pretty good, field there. And then you got a guy like David who is kind of like Rodney Dangerfield, man. Dude never gets any respect. You know what I mean? Like he's always the afterthought or the scapegoat of the Europeans, on Team Europe.
Hmm.
And here he is again. A year ago, I remember a year ago I was trying to do a show with Carl, and I was like, let's go through our top 10 European players, like, and let's just talk them up and down. You know what I mean? And just say where we think they're going to end up. David wasn't even on the
Yeah.
list for me. And then fast forward like 2 weeks, the guy just goes on a monster run and locks up, a spot on Team Europe. I'm picking Jeff in this match, Ray, but I'm having a hard time the more that I discuss David because David
Yeah.
does David things.
Yeah. I think to your point, David, for me, like, let's say the last 2 years before he swapped equipment, he was definitely the most improved of the tier one Europeans. And he like locked into this place where he was just like super sharp. And I would see him play in certain tournaments. And I was like, man, this guy plays just great all around. Like, how do you like? Where's the weakness? It's just strong in a lot of areas. And obviously it takes time to kind of get readjusted. So the fact that he is in a final 16 now tells me that he's feeling good about the swap, the swap. You know what I mean? Going to the new cues.
He had some shaky spots though, Ray. He had
Oh, I
some,
mean, yeah,
yeah.
he's been like that for. I mean, you saw the PLP. He went 0 for 15. That's like that's brutal. You know what I mean? Because the spotlight is always on, and you're in this situation. We know he plays better than that, and he knows he plays better than that. So I think as he continues to move on, he's gonna get more and more settled. I agree. It's like I kind of lean towards Jeffrey here just because he's been so solid, and those variables aren't really in. But the fact that David beat Jason this tournament, should be like, hey, confidence. Like, I can go out there and get it done. So,
For sure, but you better go and finish when it comes to a guy like Jeff, because
oh yeah,
where I think the experience and everything you've accomplished on these stages is going to help you out extremely, for a guy like David. If you slip any, a guy like Jeff will make you pay for it. A guy
oh
like
yeah,
Jeff will put you away. The thing with David, even prior to all the equipment changes and everything, is that his break has always been solid in this format, like extremely sound and consistent. And obviously, that's something that's going to help him move mountains here. And that was something like even through the match with Jason, like that was something where nothing was spectacular for me. Like nothing was standing out, but it was like everything was just lining up after the break, right? Everything was just coming together after the break, and all you had to do was just handle his business, right? Like don't shoot yourself in the foot.
sure.
Got away with one with Jason because Jason was coming for his ass, but David put him away. That Jeffrey match is going to be an extremely interesting one, and I expect the winner of that one to have a pretty good run in this event. Right, I'd probably peg that winner to go into a final four. So,
Sure.
um, following up, Clint Kachi versus Mark Bisterbosch. Ray, what do you think about that one, buddy?
Yeah, this is really tough for anybody, really. You know what I mean? Kachi's just so great, and he had a strong performance. I think in the round of 32, I think he knocked out BJ Ussery in that round, and BJ said they were like 3-3, and he hit him with a three, and it didn't miss a ball, and so he was up 8-3. You know what I mean? And so I mean the guy is playing great. You know what I mean? And his break is pretty formidable. And when that break is working, it's kind of a joke. It's kind of a joke. So I mean, Bistro Boss is another one of these players who kind of gets a little bit overlooked in Europe, but obviously he's a Matchroom major finalist. He won that event, didn't he?
No, no, no. So
Oh,
he loses to Dang in the Spanish Open
that's right. He
last
lost
year.
to Deng. Right.
And
So,
really,
so
that was like, and for a lot of people, that was my Mark's been around for a very long time, but that was like Mark's coming out party to a lot of people,
sure.
So,
Yeah,
but
he's one of these really solid kind of like I think of him like a Petri Makinen in that kind of range,
sure,
Uski, these kind of guys who are just killers, but like you wouldn't put them in the first batch, you know what I mean, of like tier one players, but they're out there and they're super experienced and knowledgeable. So, I mean, Mark is going to go out there and play his game. I'm excited to kind of see that match because I wonder how he'll hold up if he can kind of get his hooks in against Kachi because once Kachi gets control, it's really tough to stop him. You know what I mean?
Mark's a grinder. Mark's a guy with just no give up in him. Very much like that workhorse type player. You know what I mean? Where he just goes in there and he's scrappy, man.
Yeah.
He's got an exciting style. He doesn't mind being you know offensive at times.
Yeah.
Their experience in Euro tours. I'm sure. I imagine they've battled quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't. You know what? Like it's hard to bet against Kachi, obviously, and I'd guess race to 11. He's probably going to be spotting Mark like 2 games, I'd guess. But I remember last year during the finals of the Spanish Open, or right before the finals, I was trying to handicap it, and I forgot what the race was to Ray. I want to say it was like 13 in that final. But I remember saying, "Oh, I'd spot Mark 3 games in a heartbeat." And then Mark just showed the heart that dude's got, man. You know what I mean? And like it's those intangibles and that
Yeah.
will that he
Yeah.
has, where it's like you can't keep on writing the dude off, and then he's just coming out with a big win after big win, big player after big player. I don't think this spot is gonna rattle him any, but we know who Kachi is. We know he's a world 10 ball champion. We know his resume. Last year through the first 6 months, the guy was the best player on the planet.
Yeah.
So a lot of storylines to be written here with either player if they go on any kind of run. But I think for this one, I'm probably gonna
Chalk.
pick Kachi. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go chalk, man. Yeah. But like, it's not fair to Mark. It's not fair to
No,
Mark because, God damn it, Mark's been playing like Mark should get more respect. You know what I
we
mean?
got to find out who Dominic's betting on, and then you
Let's
can
go
pick
the other
him.
way.
Yeah.
Go the other way. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Down below, we got two world champions in their own right. Shane Van Boning, the former world 9 ball champion, Wojciech Shefik, the former world 10 ball champion, battling it off. Can Shane survive this matchup, Ray?
Yeah, I think Wojcik has this style that is very like slow and methodical and like
Boring. Let's just say it. Boring.
yeah, very robotic and very
Yeah.
like this is the flow chart. You know what I mean? We just play within the flow chart every time. So he's very efficient. So if he gets control, then it's a thing. But you know, I know he's had a couple wins against Shane in the past,
He
but
has.
Shane is just I think this is like an example of like, Shane has just been kind of like slowly kind of just dealing with a little bit more, just a stronger opponent piece by piece, you know what I mean? And he's never really looked uncomfortable. So, I think
Shane, that is.
yeah, yeah, I think he's just been kind of like
I don't know that he's looked uncomfortable, but he never really looked comfortable either to me.
yeah, there was a couple stretches in matches where like his break wasn't as productive early on. And so it's kind of like he was waiting for that to kind of click in, but he never looked like out of sorts or stressed out like he really had. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like nobody really put it to him so far, I don't think, and I just think that's a testament to how good Shane is playing. I mean, he just crushed PLP and like was super locked in. And I know that he's been getting ready for this. So, I, you know, there's no way that I would say that Wojciech is favorite here. You know what I mean? There's a couple guys maybe in the final 16 that you'd have to look at and be like, okay, maybe, but Shane's one of these guys that when he sees the finish line, he doesn't really like back off. So it'll be interesting to
Look,
see.
you make nothing but good points there, Ray. Nothing but great points. But there's a big but there. Shane can get on tilt a little bit, okay? And so when the one thing that Shane's always had in his back pocket is that break, right? And they
Yeah,
stole that from him with this new format. You know what I mean? Like he can't do the things that he's used to doing. He doesn't have the control that he's used to having. And I don't feel like, and by default, I feel like that can um, that can mess with his confidence a little bit because there is no if he just goes through his and muscles the break, you know what I mean. Then it's like there's no rhyme or reason to it, and he's just trying to like figure out his way through the end. Where a guy like Wojciech, look, man, Shane can strike fear to a lot of players because of the SVB factor. And there's a few guys that have that same kind of shadow filler now fetter as well. You know what I mean? But Wojciech isn't that guy to get rattled by it. Like you said, he's had wins against Shane before in the past. He's extremely steady. I don't think he gets super emotional one way or the other, which I think is
Right.
going to serve him very, very, very well. You know what I mean? Especially given how Shane can tilt a little bit. Obviously, I'm rooting for Shane. I want to see the dude go on another world championship run. That would
Yeah.
be the best thing because I'm a fan of the dude. But I
I
think
just
this
have
is
a feeling
it's
that
so
people.
dangerous, though, man.
I just have a feeling people are going to be asleep, and then Shane's going to be awake on the TV table practicing his break for 3 hours, and then you know what I mean. Like he's going to do those things to kind of like put himself in a position. You know what I mean?
Well, he gets up for the money, Ray. Like it's not. I mean, you know Shane, right? Like that big paycheck at the end is something that motivates him, and we know his work ethic even still.
Yeah.
But I just look, man. Wojciech can be a dangerous out for a lot of people. There's a reason why, like he's a former world 10 ball champion. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like he didn't just stumble into that spot. That dude earned it and grinded it. Now, I'm not like when I watch the guy's game, it can be boring because, like you said, right, like his processes and the way that he just plays the game. But like, I feel like that steadiness is also a major plus for him because
The
it helps
matchup
him
benefit
to
for
stay
him. It's
even.
yeah, it's definitely a matchup benefit for him against Shane because Shane wants to get going and he wants to beat you with the break and run. So like if this was like alternate break, I would more be inclined to saying yeah, like Wojciech is gonna close to getting there. But because it's winter break, to me the how the break pans out for both players will have a big impact on how the match goes. If
Well,
Shane gets thing, then it might not be close.
well,
But
this is the part of the tournament where like Shane really just like he tightens up his belt and
Lux,
he's
yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean, like
yeah,
he will do, and so it won't be for lack of effort or for preparation for him. The balls are going to roll however they roll. And look, with all those things I'm saying about Voight, look, Shane's a effing killer. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like he can smell blood, and if everything does come together, then we know how damaging and punishing he can be. By the way, this bottom side in general is just brutal. I mean,
By the way,
just unreal down below.
how do you read the bracket to know who plays who next? Because this is like it's not like a
You're
standard flow
just
chart.
you're just
It's
moving to the right. So like the winner, like so for example, SVB and Wojciech will play the winner of Victor and Joao,
got it. Okay.
and then so on. What's the matter, baby? Yeah, that's fine, baby. That's fine, baby. Yeah, sorry. Um, down below we got no, you're fine, mom. Down below we got Victor and Joao. That's fine, baby. Yeah. Sorry, man.
Oh,
Daddy
hey,
duties.
she's a boss.
Uh, she's the boss. I ain't seen her in a few days. So, Victor against Joao. Look, we've been really high on Victor over the last 2 years at least,
Yeah,
and so we all like we've seen him win Predator events. This is different, but like, is this where he takes it like the next step, Ray? And I know it's not going to be an easy one, and it'll be well earned if he does.
and
But
he's
is this
been
where
kind
we
of
see
like
him?
just quietly going through the tournament. We haven't really he hasn't really popped up a lot. He had that statement that he released before the tournament, and Penoza was like, I really hope he snaps it off, just as like
Yeah,
a bon voyage to the federation stuff. But
right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
big
super
middle finger
gifted,
to him.
super talented player, and he's right there. He's on the cusp. There's this big bubble out there waiting for Europeans to break through. You know what I mean, and come join the top of the pile. But this is another one of those tricky matches because a lot of people don't know Joao so much. Grillo, tremendous player, like really great player. And
Extremely good player.
yeah, so this is like just coin flip city probably between these two guys. And it's just you're going into the Lions Den. So, the winner here will have to play the winner of Wojciech and Shane. And then after that, you have, those other four monsters down there. It's like it's a tough game.
It's
It's
it's brutal, man. I mean, it's
brutal.
really brutal down below with the bottom half. But
Yeah,
look, with Victor, for me, he's been like he's the next generation. He's the next in line, right? Like right now, we're in kind of the end of a generation when it comes to the European team, and you're going to start seeing more of a transition for these younger players that are going to start
yeah,
solidifying their spots for the next 5+ years. And I feel like he's on that short list. He's in that like 6 to 7 range, like for me, and has been for some time.
right.
But guys who can who just want to fight, right? Who just want to like go to war. Joao's one of those dudes, man. Joao's one of those guys where it doesn't matter who he's playing against, right? He gave Filler like a tough matchup, I think, through 10 games earlier on in the tournament where Josh ended up pulling away at the end. But like Joao's that kind of player where like it doesn't matter who he's playing against, man. You know,
Yeah,
and so I wouldn't be surprised. Excuse me, I wouldn't be surprised for an upset here if you'd call it that. I mean, I know you're saying it's even money. I think the line would definitely have Victor as the betting favorite just because of like the marquee kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like he's the guy who's
yeah.
been more showcased. But like if like in other words, if you were gonna get Joao getting a few games, I'm snap calling. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean? Because
oh yeah.
he's that kind of dude.
It's
But
one
like
of those where it's not even, but I can't give you a spot. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I know I'm not in the good game, but I know it's not. I just can't give up a whole lot though. I just don't
Yeah,
feel. I don't.
yeah,
I'd rather just not play. I'd rather
yeah.
not play.
Exactly. I'd rather we just be friends.
Yeah, pretty much is how you say
Yeah,
it, man.
tough game.
But look, I think that personally, from me knowing Victor and the conversations that we've had, I want to see him like do really well, man. Like I want to
Yeah,
see him. I want to see him win this one, and I want to see him win the next one, and then I want to see him be in a spot to really, like, really go lock up a Mosconi Cup because like there was a lot of things like over the last since like August, and I'll go back to the U.S. Open, right, when all these like political WPA stuff was going on, and there was few guys that like it really affected, right, and
yeah,
has been, and you can tell by the way that he just dipped out of the Polish Federation right before this event, which is no coincidence, by the way,
yeah.
because this would have been one of the events where you get where you get assistance from your federation. But there's a lot of things those guys have to fade on the back end,
Yeah.
and you know what? Victor is the kind of dude where he can get tilted. He may just go and spill all the beans now that he's out from under that umbrella. And there's a lot of things the guy could say that he has not gone on the record about. But knowing some of the stuff that he's gone through, it just makes me root for him to take the next step, Ray. And the Hanoi situation and not being allowed to play out there because of everything going on, like that kid was in a spot to just everything he hoped and dreamed for his entire career was like right there for the taking if he played in Hanoi. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so he was robbed of that opportunity. For that alone, I'm rooting for the guy to go and just 6 months into the year go lock up a Mosconi Cup spot, son. I'm rooting for you. So, but it's not easy. You got Shane above. Guess what? If you can fade Joao and the winner of Wojciech and Shane, guess who you got? You got four dudes at the bottom who were just a bunch of like just monsters. Josh
Monster.
Filler versus Anton Raga. Ray, that could be a final right there. That could be a final of this event, and we'd all be salivating and drooling, waiting for that match to start.
Yeah, this is two guys that are very like high firepower kind of matches and kind of play styles. So it's not going to be a slow match. Yeah, there might never be a shot clock ever threatened with those two guys, but it'll be interesting to see. If because I think they've had a one match where it was not close. There was like a
I
big
think
blowout.
I remember who won. I think it was Josh that won the one time they played,
Yeah, I think Josh like
and it wasn't close. Like you said, I think it was because I remember it was like very it did not live up to the hype, because we
no.
were we were really hoping for like a heavyweight
Yeah,
boxing
I
match
think
there.
they played a couple times, but there was one set that was just not close. So we'll see. Raga is getting more and more comfortable with this stage. I think that's part of like the value for him is like getting into these events over and over again and getting into the deeper stages and figuring out what works and what doesn't work for him. Um, because he's got the ability to beat anybody. So it's going to be a marquee match for sure. And Blockbuster City tomorrow for
Well,
sure.
we know what he can do. We just haven't seen him do it, in this environment. And make no mistake about it, you're in Josh's house. Like that's it, that's his home. He's got a bed. He's got he gets his mail delivered there. That's his place. You know what I mean? Like he's very the dude's very comfortable out there playing in this spot anywhere and everywhere on earth.
Yeah,
And
and
so
we just saw a super strong performance from Josh.
we did, yeah. I mean,
You know,
just from like his run out, his runouts were really clean. Like
yeah,
he was handling his business, which is what you expect. And like with Josh, you just know it's coming, and it's already here. And so as the event progresses, um, uh, you expect him to get stronger. But if there's guys who will punch back and can punch back, a guy like Anton is one of them.
yeah,
The one right below Josh is the one who can really give it to him, and I feel like is in Josh's head a little bit in one Feder. But we'll get to that match in a minute. But give me who you got coming out of the filler and Anton match.
yeah. I think. I mean, it's hard to pick against Josh. He's just he's not in any category less than Raga, right? And he has the experience. So, like, you got to go out there and beat the best player in the world. You know what I mean? Like, you got to go out there and Raga's capable. But you got to go with Josh. I think as far as like, you're gonna bet a sandwich on it. If you lose a sandwich and you don't eat, that's fine. But
Look, I saw Josh play this like six safety where like he crosses over like a three ball on Oscar, and then like with a lot of speed, right? The three
yeah,
balls going back and forth on a line across the table, and then he just like kills the cue ball on the top rail and just hits it with inside and just tucks in behind the one of the sickest safeties that you'll ever see. And it was for me it was a little bit unexpected, but like that just shows how comfortable the dude is, Ray. For me, and so if he's already feeling like that and we're going into the round of 16, he's
right.
gonna be extremely tough to fade. I know what Anton is. I know who he is. I know his resume, but he ain't had that resume out here. Yeah, he hasn't had that resume out here on a matchroom stage.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna be going with Josh, but I'm excited to see that matchup for sure.
yeah, it's
Down
gonna be
below, down below, you got Meling versus Federer.
Freddie G.
There you go, Freddie Gorst.
That's my guy. Yeah, I was saying earlier, I think Federer's really grinded, like more so than he's maybe used to in a 9-ball tournament. But he just came back from Buffalo's, right? So he was over there and like got like a crash course in grinding. Maybe he's
Talking
like,
about Federer?
yeah, wasn't he out there?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So maybe he's subconsciously still grinding. Um, yeah, I'm looking for him to settle down and kind of play more is top flight game. I think he needs to like be comfortable in this match because Chris is very very talented, and so if he comes off to a slow start again because like there was a match where he was down 7-0, you know, like you
seven
can't do
zero
that.
and 8-1, I think.
Yeah, you can't do that against Chris. Like you can't spot him, 7 or 8. You might be okay for like 2 or 3 mistakes, throughout the set, but these you're getting to the really top players now, and Chris is comfortable beating and winning against anybody, and he's just so gifted that you don't want to give him too many opportunities. Now, I've also noticed Chris being a little emotional, almost like tilty. The last couple rounds, maybe just tensions are flaring up because of people
He's not
getting
afraid to speak his opinion. That's for sure when it comes to Chris.
yeah, and it's just some stuff that I've seen like temperament stuff. Like I saw him. Yap was in he was in a match with Yap that he lost. I think this was in the double elimination.
He was talking about his pace of play.
Yeah, but Yap is like waiting to get down and shoot to 9 because there's like a bunch of photographers and stuff that are like moving around or whatever. And it's like, this is if I make this ball, I win the match. Like to me, like when somebody's like, you should have shot the ball, or I think he conceded the ball even, and I'm like, you can. I'm just sitting here and wait. Like, okay, he's gonna take forever to shoot. Like, let him shoot. If he misses, the longer he takes, the more it probably benefits me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
sit there and struggle over a simple shot forever, then maybe you're going to bobble it. So the fact that he got emotional about that, tells me that he wasn't settled mentally, and so hopefully that's kind of resolved and he's kind of put that to bed, because when he is calm and just kind of like clean and clear mentally, he's really dangerous.
Wait, I love watching Chris Meling play any kind of Q sports. He's great to watch on the eye for sure. Very exciting player. We just I think that if I were to look at like the draws of players, Federer's had a pretty easy draw. Like if I'm just going through like you know name players,
Sure.
Federer hasn't had the toughest of draws, and it's still been extremely difficult for him to get here. Now you can look at it, either way, where it's like, okay, now that he's going to start facing tougher opponents, can he survive? Or it's like, okay, the dude already faded his worst against lesser opponents, so now you expect him to start hitting that gear that we've seen over and over again. That's given him the reputation that he has currently, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I really don't know what to make of this match. Like every time I turn on a Federer scoreboard, the score that's up there, I expected it to be reversed through like 10 games, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that he's going to be Federer, right? I'm thinking he's going to be up like 7-1 and just put it in neutral and just, coast his way through and then really just get up for what is the next match, because the next match is everything. The next match is where you can really lock up a great spot. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, Ray.
And this is Moscone Cup
Federer can be a little
implications.
tilty too.
Yeah, yeah, and this is big for Moscone Cup stuff because this is an American and a European, and both those guys have vested interest in getting further, and the
Yeah,
pay
I
goes.
think it's different though, Ray, because Federer's not worried about making a Mosconi Cup. Federer,
Well, he's
Federer,
in
locked,
first place
Federer
right
locked
now.
up the Federer locked up a Mosconi Cup spot whenever he decided to, be an
Yeah,
American last year, after the U.S. Open. You
yeah,
know,
he's in first place right now, right? And kind of securing that as long as he stays even with Shane, in the tournament, he'll stay in first place. Shane needs to crack into I think the semifinals, I think, to get in there really all the way up, take first place. So um, it's just interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see too for some of these outside European guys, like if they make a deep run,
look,
like
you mentioned Shane. They got a pretty big matchup coming up before the U.S. Open. I'm hearing. So how poetic would it be for these two guys to match up? At the end of the biggest. Um,
it
uh,
looks like it would be a semifinal if they both advance.
Yeah, so I mean, it would be for a pretty decent amount of money,
Big,
So, lots of storylines to take away here, but yeah, man, that bottom part is just tough, dude. I mean, it really is. It really is tough. Like I like Shane, I like Victor, and I'm not in love with it. That's for sure.
sure.
But um, Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Those guys are going to come out of that bottom half just extremely busted up, though, and they're going to be ready for a final. I'll tell you that, though, Ray, because I think that, and what I'm hoping for, because these like the quality of the matches is so strong that I'm hoping that they really come out of here just really battle tested. I want it to be like in that 11-8, 11-9 kind of range. Each one of these things, and let
Yeah,
them just be ready for war, man, because that's how it's going to be. At the end of it.
yeah. I kind of like Kachi coming out of the top half. I think.
Let me see. I'm gonna cruise back up here, and then we'll go through. And we'll pick our top side and bottom side here. All right. So
Yeah,
you're liking the first four matches, the winner to reach the final. You're liking Kachi up top.
yeah. I think it's either Kachi or Ignacio. Um, Whoever wins that, assuming they both win, they could dump us tomorrow. We'd be,
I've had that happen 1,000
yeah,
times. You
yeah.
pick the guy. I picked Carlo to go deep in this event. Dude went 2-0. What are you gonna do?
There you
You
go.
know?
Poor guy. Um,
I had Carlo and Federer going deep as far as like big players, and we saw the results that they've had. So
yeah,
I'm with you though, Ray. I'm not gonna pick two up top. I'm picking one, and I'm picking Jeff. Um, I've seen that dude just play a lot of different ways. I think he can be really loose.
I'd
Um,
like I'd like for Jeff to win because it would be like to come out to get to the finals, because it would, first of all, lock him in for the Reyes Cup, and
For sure.
he's tremendous. You know what I mean? He's just tremendous.
Yeah.
So, and it'd be good to see a different face. You know what I mean? To get to the finals. Not that I'm against, like, but you know,
No. I like that. Yeah, throw some more guys on in there, and guys are gonna write their own stories for sure. And I mean, listen, there's plenty of guys with seasoning and experience there too. Kachi, David. These other guys that have made little splashes like a Dang or a Mark or even a Sufi. You know what I'm saying? But no guys that have really like solidified any kind of like even like short term legacy. You know what I mean? Or like consistency, right? It's just like you just
yeah,
have these little flashes in one tournament, but then you never really see a follow up, and that happens all the time, and it's bound to happen in this event, right? Like just from an odds standpoint. But the thing is, with this event, it's
yeah,
so much money that it can set you up for the rest of the year, and get you into a lot of other events. But Kachi ain't a bad pick, man. Look, that dude's break when it's working. Look
it's
out.
nasty, nasty.
Yeah. Who do you got on the bottom half, Ray?
I like. It's probably going to be like a SVB and maybe SVB filler in the semifinals. Um, I kind of see it trending that way, unless Federer just kind of wakes up, because he does match up good against Josh,
He
and
does.
and I like his end of it if he's playing Josh and he's
He
locked
would
in.
have beat Josh 3 times in a row had it not been for that one dog 9 ball. Like I forgot
Sure.
whatever that event was in Hanoi. You know,
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Let's just go full like Federer SVB. Semifinals, and the winner coming out of the USA. How about that? World champion.
look,
One
you
time.
got. I'm co-signing halfway with you once again. Okay, I think that you're gonna see Federer hit another gear down below. I just do, and I know how dangerous that he is whenever he does hit that gear. I think he's in a lot of these guys' heads who are also like alphas. You know what I mean? Like Josh and like Shane. I think
Yeah.
Federer can be in their head a little bit, um, and so that's definitely gonna serve him really well. Um, yeah, a lot of potential juicy matchups that I'm going to want to see coming out of this bottom half. But if I'm just picking one guy, I can't shy away from Federer, man. I just
Yeah.
can't. I'd like to see him and Victor like play, for a spot in the final. The problem is I've just seen Federer just eat up and spit out like so many big dudes. You know what I mean? Like just so many top guys and just do it with ease. And so yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
tough to. But like storyline wise, there's a million different ways I'd love to go with it. You know what I mean? I'd love to see Shane fight for another world championship. I'd love to see Victor try to go for one. Hell, Josh is always a great story. A guy like Meling, like not even on anyone's radar could lock up a Mosconi Cup spot in one event. It's like think about that for a minute, right? So there's so many things here. Even Victor can lock up a spot. So um, a lot of things kind of take away and look for tomorrow. And this is where like, man, I'd almost rather them have it be a few more days and just let them play like 2 matches at a time, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want them to go down to final four after tomorrow. I want them just to let me enjoy 16, right? Like
It's
give me 2 matches. Yeah, give me 4 rounds of like 2 matches at a time, and I'm good with that. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. So who do you got winning it all from here, Ray?
Uh, whoever
And by the
plays.
way, are you free tomorrow during the day? Like
Yeah. I'm free.
after the round of 16 ends?
Yeah. Yeah. No
Yeah.
problem.
Okay. Yeah, I want to do something before the round of 8. All right, who do you got, Ray?
I don't know. It's I don't know. It's unclear. It's unclear. Snap it off. It's
I tell you,
like
I tell you what
most.
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be real nice here, and you've kind of already said 2 on each side, but I'll ask you again. I'll give you 2 picks from the top, 2 picks from the bottom. Once
Yeah,
again,
the two picks from the top will be Kachi and Ignacio, and from the
okay.
bottom,
Federer and Shane.
yeah, Federer and Shane.
Yeah. You still don't sound real confident. So if I told you, listen, we're betting a good steak dinner on
I'll pick my four against. I love ribeyes, so you can't.
four versus the field.
Yeah,
4 versus the field. You're taking your 4, and you're saying let's dance.
yeah. I would pick
Did, did,
Kachi,
did your
Ignacio.
microphone go out there, Ray, for a little bit?
No,
Your internet cut out? No.
I pick Kachi, Ignacio, Shane, and if I was bidding a steak dinner on it, then I'd pick Josh.
So what you? So then you would 86. You would 86 Federer for Josh. Is that what I just heard?
Yeah.
Okay, he's already two stepping over here. Okay, listen, I. Those are pretty good four. I'm not gonna lie. That's a pretty good. It's a pretty good. It's a pretty good group of four. I'd probably pick the Filipinos up top, Jeff and Chua, and down below, I'd probably pick boy oh boy, I'd probably pick Federer and I don't want to pick SVB like you, although yeah, I guess I'll go Wojciech. Federer and Wojciech, give me the champion. But like you, I'm not too comfortable with it, right? But I would take the field versus your four for a good dinner like at a Moscone Cup or something. That I would do if you're willing
Put
to
it
do
on the
that.
books. Put it on the books right now. I like my ribeyes medium rare.
Okay, well that's me too, buddy. So yeah, we'll do that then. We'll take you got your four, I got the field. The round of 16 starts tomorrow. Do you know what time, Ray? Because I think I butchered it last. Is it 5 a.m. again Central?
It's probably going to be 6 a.m. again. Let's double check. Let's check the zone.
Yeah. I think it is. I think it is going to be 6 a.m. on the East Coast, 5 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're going to try to go live again tomorrow, midday after the round of 16. So make sure and keep your notifications on. Big shout out to Ray for coming on, especially it being so late out there on the East Coast. And big shout out to all of our sponsors who help make the show possible. You see them, circulating around. We're going to see how foolish we look tomorrow because what I'm hoping for is race 4 go out in the first round, and then I'm just sitting pretty. I don't want any sweaters going on, Ray. I like to just end it nice and early, and let me look forward to the restaurant there in Orlando. So, anyhow, buddy, I appreciate you for coming on again. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us.